everyone, and welcome to my April reading wrap-up. If you remember my March reading wrap-up, you will know I didn't have the best reading month, and that did carry on into April as well. I've just been really busy with the end of university. I handed in my writing project, or my creative writing dissertation. I've just been really busy and I only completed 4 books in April. I completed 3 novels in April and I had very mixed feelings on all 3 of them, so that definitely contributed to having a bit of an odd reading month. The first book I read was Swimming Lessons by Claire Fuller, and I read her first novel, Our Endless Number of Days, a couple months ago, and I really enjoyed it. So this novel is about a family and the secrets that are in that family. The mother, Ingrid, went missing many years ago, and she has written letters to her husband Gil and placed them in his books. He has collected thousands of books over the years, so he is finding them very gradually, and these letters are about their relationship and their marriage. It was after she hid the final letter that she disappeared. 10 years later, Gil believes that he's seen her in a bookshop. He is getting older and this sighting is very unreliable. One of the 2 daughters, Flora, moves home and decides to take care of her father. She attempts to unravel what really went on and discover the secrets of her parents' marriage. I thought this book was a really quick and easy read. As we learned more about their marriage, I definitely felt for Ingrid a lot. I really like learning about what has led up to married relationships. It's something I really enjoy in books. I like seeing the courtship, if you will, in the form of flashbacks. That's something I've really enjoyed in books like Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. So that was something I was really interested in with this book. But unfortunately, the mystery element of this book just wasn't up to scratch for me. It somehow wasn't a page turner. I felt like I could have stopped this book halfway through or 3/4 through and felt just dissatisfied. So yeah, I had quite mixed thoughts on this one. This month I also read a middle grade book, and that was A Girl Called Owl by Amy Wilson. This is about a young girl who discovers who her father was and why that has given her special powers. Owl is a young girl who has frost patterns forming on her skin, and she realizes that she can control things like ice and frost. She realizes this has something to do with who her father really was. And that's all the setup this book really needs. I found the premise of it really fascinating. I thought it was a really good idea. And again, it was a quick and easy read, but I didn't think it had that much depth to it, and I don't know how much depth I can really expect from a middle grade novel. The middle grade novels I'm maybe more accustomed to reading are things like Jacqueline Wilson, and I think they have a lot more depth to them than this one did. This book didn't leave me thinking in any way, and I guess that's okay. It's a nice story. I think it would be a great one to read around winter. So if you're interested in middle grade books, then I would recommend this one. I also completed a YA book in April called The One Memory of Flora Banks by Emily Barr, and I have very strange, strong, mixed feelings on this one. This book, you've probably heard the premise of it in and around BookTube, promoted and pushed a lot. This is about a 17-year-old girl named Flora who suffers from quite severe memory loss. She cannot remember things from after she was the age of 10. She has a notebook which explains her own situation to her, and it helps her to do things. I think it's really great that there was that representation of amnesia, and as far as I can tell, this seems to be quite well researched. I think the voice in this book is really strong. While the repetitiveness of Flora needing to remind herself of her own situation could be a little tedious at points, it wasn't difficult to get through. She was a character that I was rooting for and I liked spending time with. But the problems I had with this book is the plot and how unrealistic it was. One of the main plot points of this book is Flora can't remember anything until she goes to a party and kisses her best friend's boyfriend. I know a first kiss is something that's very significant to a lot of people, but it just disappoints me a little that the one massively significant thing in her life that she could remember was a boy. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but a boy who is a total dickhead. Flora's parents then leave home and go to France because Flora's brother is very critically unwell and they want to be by his side, leaving Flora to fend for herself. And she goes off and follows this boy to where he is studying in the Arctic. While I think it's great to have the representation that shows that people who do suffer from memory loss in this way are capable of doing things and having some sort of agency, I found it extremely unrealistic that her parents would allow this to happen, especially when you do find out what is really going on with that family dynamic. Also, because of Flora's memory loss, she essentially acts like she's 10 years old. I didn't find this book realistic at all, and I'm not quite sure why it is getting as much promotion as it is getting, to be honest. If you've read this one, I would love to hear your thoughts, so do start a discussion down below, because I don't know if I'm just like missing something. So while I quite enjoyed the process of reading it and I liked spending time with the character, and to be honest, I did want to keep reading on. I think it was a page turner, unlike the other 2 books that I'd read in the month. I'm just kind of left a bit annoyed after reading it, really. I also completed a non-fiction book called Women in Sports, 50 Fearless Athletes Who Played to Win. And this was probably my favourite book of the month. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It is a follow-up to a book you may have seen around called Women in Science. And this book highlights a number of notable female athletes throughout history. It showcases their achievements and the barriers they've come up against, and how they overcame those challenges. The women in this book are extremely impressive and highly inspirational. I also think there was a lot of diversity in this book. It had women from lots of different sports, lots of different age groups, ethnicities. It featured women with a range of different abilities and disabilities. The illustrations that accompany this book are also incredible and so important to what not only makes this book extremely important, but extremely unique. I thought this book was absolutely beautiful, and I received a e-arc copy, and I would love to get a physical copy when it comes out, because it's such a beautiful work of art. So they are all the books that I read in April. Not that many, again. I'm a little bit behind on my Goodreads reading challenge. I do have quite a bit of catching up to do, but hopefully that's something I can get on top of during the summer. Let me know down below if you have any thoughts on any of the books I read, and hopefully I will have a slightly better reading month in May. That's all for today, but I will talk to you guys soon.